Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. This is Time Fox 88. We're going to be going over a build series of the Mustang known as Time Fox 88 on Instagram to cover some details, some build info, parts list, and so much more. There's going to be a lot of mumbling as this is all going to be raw video, no editing, back to back, just to cover an overview of the car. This first video is going to cover everything exterior, parts, what it looks like, why it looks like it, and just to answer some general questions. This is not going to be a build series or how-to. This is generally just going to be an overview of the car, what it looks like, and what we did to it. So let's get into it. This is a 1988 Ford Mustang GT, Barra swapped, wide body, hatchback. Let's start with the fenders. So the fenders are going to be a Mayer Racing over fender kit. It's a full replacement of the front with an over fender in the rear. This is a 3-inch kit. It's made of heavy duty fiberglass. It is a full replacement for the front fender. This scoop is not part of the fender. You do have to buy that. You can find that anywhere online, eBay, Amazon, a couple motorsports websites. You do have to cut the top section, drop it in, and it does act as an active vent for above the wheels. The rears are going to be a full over fender. You can mold them to fit, but I went with a rivet-on look because that fit what I wanted it to look like. The car still does have the GT body kit. Part of my plans was to keep it a GT. I believe there's one other person that I found that's done the GT over the over fender kit, as these come as an LX kit. For you Mustang guys that know what that is, everything has been heavily modified to fit the wide fenders. As you can see, everything has been pulled quite a bit out. When you pull the rear, there's going to be a gap there that I've went ahead and filled with a patch panel. Every single piece, now that it's bowed out versus being pushed in 3 inches, needed trimmed, heavily modified to fit. But the GT lower body kit is going to be the ground effects that's found on all GTs that run all the way around. That's that signature Mustang GT Foxbody body kit, and I'm a fan of Foxbodies. I love them all, but that's always been my favorite. So the entire ground effects kit is going to be all the way around the GT. The rear bumper is going to be stock, minus the cutout section that I have for the Aero there. This section here is going to be the stock section. Now, one of the most controversial parts of this car is going to be the front bumper. You either seen it, read about it, or don't know about it. It looks similar to a Mustang GT front bumper, but it is actually an E36 M3 front bumper. Now, before you go thinking you can just buy the M3 front bumper and swap it, it's really not that easy. When I purchased this car, it was in very, very bad shape, and it needed a front bumper, and I had the option of going back to a stock body front bumper or finding something that fit. And in the past, I have done an R35 bumper on a New Edge Mustang and got quite a response out of that. So I dug into what was close in size. Of course, there's nothing that's going to be perfect, so I noticed that the E36 was similar in total width. So you have to modify this car very heavily. I won't get into details of how it's done, but just a short overview. Most Foxbody guys know that the bumper on a Foxbody comes way out here. So in order to make this fit, you do need to cut your entire bumper support, rebuild it, bring it back. This included modifying the headlight housing, mount underneath, modifying mounting points, creating brackets, so on and so forth. The E36, again, is sucked tighter. You can see that this is pretty close to the headlight, where a stock bumper comes way out here, meaning I needed to rebuild the bumper core, bring it all the way in, modify everything to line up. Now again, back to fitting it to the car. This body shape does not match the Mustang body shape whatsoever, so there's real no way to just mold this to it. The other thing is the M3 bumper ends about right here, so you'd have been completely short to even butt them up naturally without modifying it. So what I did is I cut out a stock Mustang GT bumper to overlap this to create kind of an over fender look. And I did offset bushings in there. There is a hole in there so air can go through and escape, not rip the front bumper off. Everything is custom mounted from the underside to the corners, and then there is an adjustment point within here that I'll talk about in the Aero. This section is factory Foxbody here. The E36 comes in, out, and then back in on the other side, so that required this to be sucked way in without creating a huge gap here. I did do a seam here with brackets and rivets for that industrial look versus molding everything together. These are going to be 3D printed ports just to go through, bring some air into the interior of the engine bay as just air ducts. With the M3, you're going to get a full grille mesh look. These are the sockets for the lower fog lights. I did not go with lights. I might upgrade to that, but again, I wanted a lot of air to push through there. Keep the brakes cool, keep the motor swap cool. With the M3, you do get the lower splitter there, which is kind of nice with the addition of this. The M3 is a little bit shorter. You don't get that huge drop that the Foxbody naturally came with. I kind of like it because it does pick up the front end, curbs, parking lots, stuff like that. I don't have to worry about scraping. But that is the front bumper swap, the GT ground effects, and the Mayer Racing over fenders. You can see how wide those over fenders are naturally. They do make those in a 1.5. I want it as wide as possible, so those work for me. Foxbody guys that are watching know that they came with a 3-piece. It's debatable. Everybody does not like the 1-piece solid. I personally don't like the 3-piece, just due to adjustments and certain things like that, replacement cost. I went with the 1-piece, I thought, on this car because it is so different. It worked out really well. I did do an HID LED full conversion, so they work real good. They're not as standard as you would buy them from, you know, the parts store that you would get them from. Push pins. There is no hood latch. This hood vent kit is an FDF kit, which is a drifting manufacturing company out of Canada in Formula Drift and all sorts of good stuff. They make this unit. It's full CNC'd aluminum, really nice, shipped right out of Canada. It comes as raw silver. You bend the tabs to fit, cut the hole in the hood, rivet it on, and then pull it off, powder coat it. It does not fit a stock Foxbody. You do have to trim the edge to get it to fit, but that is a very nice unit. I've used a couple of those for sure. On to the back. Another controversial piece of this car is going to be this big wing. When I had plans for this car, I've always loved the old Intimidator square wing that some guys may know or might not know. They're impossible to get your hands on. So I went through about 3 different wings or spoilers to get that look. And I think I went with Acura Integra, a couple other import cars for sure. And I really didn't find anything. I looked at options of adding to the stock bumper, running a saline bumper or spoiler, and nothing really worked for me. So I did go with a Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution spoiler. It is not a direct replacement at all. You need to pull your spoiler off, fill the holes, do the proper body work, drill new holes, mount that. That gives me that big kind of, you know, look I was going for. Again, to each their own, make fun of if you'd like. I am running LX rear tail lights, which a lot of people know that these GTs came with the slatted lights that I probably go to in the future, but for now, I really like these. The rear louver, I get asked a lot about. There is nothing on the market, I believe, that's not plastic, and I really didn't want that. I did find that in the 80s and early 90s, Ford actually made these factory. So I went on a 5-hour road trip to track one of these down. This is an original Ford production metal rear hatch louver setup. So you cannot buy that unless you source one down. They are relatively hard to find. And that covers the rear. So let's talk about Aero. Again, make fun of if you'd like. I am not an aerodynamic expert. I don't know anything about downforce, upforce, all that stuff. I simply did this for cosmetics. So part of my plan did include a rear diffuser with fins and all this good stuff. I built everything out of 1/4 inch. 1/8 inch is a little bit thinner. 1/4 is really sturdy. I templated everything in cardboard, put it on, put it off, measured just to get everything perfect how I liked it. Everything is done in black rivets, black brackets. When I got to this front section, I really wanted something here. So the stock rear is going to come with a vent naturally like that on the GT. And it looked a little goofy where this came out and you saw the tire sticking out, which is pretty cool, but I wanted to add something here. So I built these industrial looking plates with offsets. Front is just kind of tailored to fit. I do have the mounting rods for support. Within there, you can see I do have adjustment rods on the front and back, so I am able to tailor how that fits. A little bit of functionality. Again, I don't know what I'm doing with that stuff, so make fun of it if you'd like. Now the exterior of this car, everyone says Solo Cup, but this car is actually themed off of 80s, 90s Taco Bell. Not the exact colors, but that's really what I was going for. Everybody remembers Taco Bell and all those old good times of, you know, making it in there, Baja Blast, all that 7-layer burrito, the good stuff. So the top section, this isn't paint, this is wrap. I've been in that industry for a while, so luckily enough for me, I was able to do everything myself. The top layer is actually going to be pearl white. The bottom blue layer is actually a custom color. I went out and saw what wrap colors match, you know, my ideas for the car, and there was nothing that I could find that, you know, really worked for how I wanted it. So I spent about 8 hours custom color coding that blue, finding the right shade, printing it, bringing it out in the light, looking for it, and it kind of hit that perfect teal blue, not too green, not too teal, right there. That's how I got the blue. The side stripes, naturally there is an indent in the GT. If you know this body style well, they had some pretty cool colors that gave the cars pretty cool looks, so I just did standard purple, dropped the Time Fox in there. The side stripe, a lot of people talk about the side stripe. I personally designed over 100 different stripes to come up with this exact stripe and color combo. I use reference from anything 80s and 90s, such as Geo Tracker, Suzuki Samurai, all those cars that weren't very cool back in the day, but they thought if they made them cool colors and dropped some cool graphics on it, it would be cool. Never were cool until, you know, everybody forgot that it wasn't a cool car. I still love them, but that's how the side stripe came to be. I did match similar one up on the visor there. The wheel choice, iconically, these are just Saline 18-inch by 10 square wheels with 265s all the way around. I did want to pay tribute to like an S281 or, you know, the Salines. I always liked the 5-star. I would have preferred maybe white, but I did have a set of blacks laying around, and it worked out actually perfect because as soon as I threw the white tire stripes on, it gave me that kind of pop, keep the car a little subtle. It's not too bright and too much going on. The tire stripes are actually from tire stickers. They are a rubber compound that is laser cut out, and then you actually glue them to fit. Those guys over there are pretty cool. I was able to come up with my own font, the look I wanted, and instead of doing dual stripes, I did just a single. I think too much going on already is kind of puts me perfect there. On the front, it's just Time Fox 88. On the rear, paying tribute to Back to the Future with Out of Time. The whole point of this car was to kind of make people feel something, not just create a car that was cool and, you know, everybody loves it just because it's a cool car. I wanted everybody to immediately think of a different time, maybe when you were young, maybe it was good, maybe it was bad, maybe you forgot about the bad, and it just brought you back to thinking that, man, the good old days. And that's what we really try to do with our Instagram page and our content, is just keep it to that. It has nothing to do with making a cool car to get famous or, you know, any of that stuff. And the response has been really overwhelming with everybody just remembering all the old stuff that they love so much. And that's kind of really why we put this plan together and built this car. So again, this is a 1988 Ford Mustang GT 3-inch wide body kit, Saline wheels. It does have a T5 and a Barra inline 6 brought over from Australia. E36 M3 front bumper, Lancer Evolution rear spoiler, custom themed to what I believe is one of the best eras of all time. And we'll get into some more videos about how this plan came to be, how I built it, where I bought it, and really get into some before and afters, as you probably would not believe the before and afters. But thanks again for tuning in, guys. We will see you on the next one, which will cover the mechanics, the suspension, and the Barra swap, followed by the full interior.